In the cold, early hours of 15th of December 1995, police were called to a crime scene on the bank of Provo River in Utah, as two local workers found a body which lay naked, bloody, laying face down. The body was later confirmed to be 17-year-old Krystal Beslanowitch. Krystal was born 5th of June 1978 in Spokane, Washington. Krystal had a tough life growing up. At the age of 4 years old, her father passed away from drowning. By the age of 15, she became involved in taking drugs and prostitution. She had multiple run-ins with the law growing up also. Krystal had a boyfriend who at the time she had been dating for around a year. People always commented on how happy they was together. The happy couple decided to relocate and look for a fresh start in Utah. At the time, her boyfriend didn't have a job and the two were living in a hotel. Krystal relied on selling her body to make ends meet. One evening, Krystal went on a late night run to a convenience store. She never returned. There are some conflicting reports on what happened that evening. The first statement states that Krystal's boyfriend had reported her missing 2 days after she failed to return home. He visited the store and asked the employee at the store whether they had seen her. The clerk stated that she hadn't been in that evening, suggesting Krystal never made it to the store. The second statement states that her boyfriend saw a sketch of a girl on the news whose body had been found, who looked very similar to Krystal, where he then contacted the authorities to notify them that she was missing. The body of Krystal was reported to be in a horrific state, suspectedly beaten to death with a rock which had crushed her skull. The brutality of the attack resulted in her face being caved in, making her unrecognisable. Her boyfriend was investigated but was later cleared for a murder. Many tips came in, but they all came to dead ends, resulting in no further leads. Although some DNA was found at the crime scene, which wasn't Krystal's. The DNA found was hairs, blood and fingerprints, but at the time in the mid-90s, they didn't have the technology to be able to identify who the DNA belonged to. The investigation ran for 2 years, but to no avail, resulting in the case becoming cold. Years passed and Krystal's family still had no idea what happened that evening or who was to blame for the 17-year-old's murder. That was until 2006, where the case was reopened. Due to the advancements in technology within the field of forensics, it meant DNA found at the crime scene could be examined in hope to find who was guilty for Krystal's murder. But it took a further 6 years to finally bring justice. In 2013, Cody's database found a match for the DNA found at the crime scene. DNA matching a man named Joseph Simpson. Joseph Michael Simpson, who was 46 at the time of the arrest, lived in Florida with his mother and had a criminal record. He had been on parole for a previous convicted murder charge. As soon as police found this new lead, they travelled to Florida and put out surveillance on Joseph, which led them to getting his DNA off a cigarette butt he had thrown to the ground. It was a match. They also checked state records which showed Joseph was in Utah as recently as 2010. Police charged Joseph Michael Simpson with first-degree murder. While the trial was ongoing, Joseph tried blaming the bad economy, depression, and his cat dying, and asked to be given another chance to see the outside world. Almost 2 decades after Krystal's murder, Joseph Michael Simpson was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole.
So, this horrible bastard, he shouldn't have been out of prison. We didn't really go much into it, but what did he end up going to prison for before? What
Previously, he was...
This guy's fucked up looking as well.
Yeah, he is. So after hearing the evidence of Beslanovich's murder, the details of another murder committed by Simpson in 1987 was heard. So Simpson stabbed a man named Paul Heminger in 87 multiple times. He left him at the scene of the crime with a knife in his back. So yeah, it
stabbed him in back.
he stabbed him in back multiple times and left him there. So yeah, if that doesn't say a lot about the sort of fella he is, I don't know what will.
And that was 8 years before?
Yeah. He got sent to prison, Utah State Prison. He spent time there. He was then released on parole in April of 1995.
So just before?
Just before, yeah. So this guy's
obviously. So he came out and did it again?
Yeah, exactly. So this guy should have never been released in the first place. He was a dangerous man. He committed murder before. Yeah, a nasty bastard.
His face probably shrunk as well in that time. His head got bigger.
His face shrunk and his head got bigger in his neck.
So fucking weird. So about... Oh, right, okay. So he did that.
Yeah.
So because of this and the knowledge that he'd just been released, and he'd just done the crime he'd done.
Yeah.
When this happened, given that he was in the same sort of area, why was he not looked into hard by these coppers?
It's a good question to ask.
What's going on with these coppers?
You just like accusing coppers of doing
No,
wrong.
I don't. It's just like when some of that happened, you thought, oh, any murderers about? Oh yeah, there's a murderer over there. He's just got out. Let's go and talk to him. Like,
well, I mean, I can't really go into much about. I don't really know enough about that. That's a conspiracy, isn't it? There for you.
That's fucking ridiculous.
So anyway, the Sheriff Todd L. Bonner. I'm presuming it's pronounced like that, not another way.
Might be Bonner.
Might be Bonner. Who knows? He basically stayed with the case to the very end. He was called to the scene that evening that cold evening, and then he followed it through pretty much. He said it kept him up at night, and it was the case which always stuck by him because he had 3 daughters himself, so he felt very closely connected. He basically said that he owed it to the parents. Obviously, when it was solved, people did ask him like, what made you want to get justice for this girl, and he said he basically owed it to his parents, which in a lot of these cases there is a lot of shitty detective work and stuff like that, but I mean there might have been things which they overlooked or whatever, but this guy showed like true commitment. 18 years he pretty much stayed with it for, so
well, it's just a shame, innit, that police probably didn't do the job properly.
Well, the system failed, Krystal, when Simpson got released.
In the first place.
Because
it was even been there.
Yeah, it was evident he was a dangerous man. He only received, what would it been, 8 years for the murder.
Well, the situation she was in as well.
Exactly, yeah. The fact that she had to put herself in danger to even make money and stuff.
And that dirty bastard boyfriend just, like, hotel.
When he was sentenced, basically, evidence was presented which suggested that Simpson had sex with Krystal before she died. But there was also DNA found of an unknown male. The individual representing Simpson basically argued, like, this DNA from this man, who this unknown male, like, he could be responsible for the murder or whatever.
Right, so defence is saying that, he slept with her, but he didn't do the killing. Whoever the other fella is did it.
I'm pretty sure that's what they were trying to say.
Yeah. Trying to get at.
Yeah.
That's what I've been wondering as well. It's like,
well,
I'm pretty sure this fella fucking did it, but was there someone else involved?
Well, the DNA can be explained by the fact that she was a prostitute. And I don't know what extent the DNA was. I don't know if it was like semen or just like fingerprints.
There's no details about that.
Yeah, it just said DNA.
I'd just lock that boyfriend up as well.
You what?
Just in case.
That poor bastard. His girlfriend got murdered, and then you're just throwing out accusations.
I'm not being horrible, but it might just be me. But something dodgy about him.
I think it's just you.
Could be.
Something to
Could
do
be
with
just me.
Always looking at dodgy coppers, corruption within the police force, and the boyfriend.
No, it's not necessarily just about that. It's just about like people not doing what they should be doing. What was his reasonings for it?
So he never really. There was no real solid reasoning, but like I said previously,
just an old bastard.
He basically blamed it on the economy, the fact that his cat died.
His cat died.
Yeah, that was his reasoning behind it.
20 years later.
Yeah.
And he said that his cat dying.
Yeah.
And the economic instability.
Yeah.
At the time was reasons for doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right.
So the direct quote from the court.
Was like a normal fella.
Pleaded to the jury. My cat gave me a second reason for life. I'm asking the same from you guys.
Right. This guy's got some problems.
Well, evidently, yeah. You murdered two people.
Me.
But the cat thing's interesting because it plays on people's heartstrings, doesn't it?
It does, but if it does, and he probably has got some like serious, probably health problems and mental health problems, and probably like he's not healthy up there. But like if you're feeling sorry for him because he said that.
Oh yeah, well
there's something wrong with you as well.
It shows his very desperate plea of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like very manipulative as well.
Yeah, give me a lifeline type of thing. So he stated as well, like I said previously, but this is the direct quote from that day in court. I know it's going to be 20, maybe 30 years down the road, but I still hope that I can have another chance. So So I think by the whole cat thing was...
He got given another chance when he got out of prison.
Well, exactly.
First time.
It's mental. The guy's an head case, isn't he? Don't kill people and you won't need another chance. You know what I mean? It's not hard.
Oh dear, it's quite complicated this because like...
Nah, it ain't complicated. The guy was
to
just
a point where like... He
psycho,
shouldn't have been released in the first place and he probably should have been in some type of facility. The
thing which drew me to this case was the fact that it took almost 20 years to basically solve it, and it was done by the advancements in forensics.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did you think of the case? Did you find it interesting? Did you find
I
it
did. I found it strange. You see in some, don't you? And it's like, oh my god, like they find the person like 20 years later, and it's like you wouldn't have suspected him at all, like. But this fella, like, it just feels like maybe it was because of the time, and just like no one gave a shit because she was a prostitute.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, it's just like it's a good one. Like I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Until now.
Well, now you have, and now you have at home. So.
You have at home.
If you liked it, leave a thumbs up.
If you have any information on that we've missed or that we couldn't get.
Subscribe. We're going to be doing weekly uploads now based around these sort of topics. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Cheers.
See you next week.